Come make a 90s inspired moon cookie with me. This is part of the Celestial cookie set, and you're going to get started with a blue and yellow icing. Those are the only two colors. I don't know why I said you're going to get started. And you're going to take that blue icing and outline your cookie. The entire base of this cookie is going to be the blue icing. And so I go around 2, 3, 4 times. I like to create a really solid edge. And if you find that outlining circles is challenging, I certainly did when I first started decorating cookies, and seriously, I still have issues with it now, then you can make that edge a little bit on the inside of your cookie instead of right on the edge. And then after you outline, you are going to fill in the center of the cookie with this blue, the same blue icing, because the consistency we use is going to create that outline and also the flood. If you've never heard those words with cookie decorating, not an issue. If you have, then we're using what's called a hybrid royal icing. And so that means it can do it all. The outline, the flood, whatever it is. I did not fully fill in this cookie or fully flood this cookie because I'm going to put a lot of yellow icing on top. So instead, I'm using my scribe to move the inside icing around so I can create a flatter layer. And then I can add that additional icing on top. Typically, and what you'll see with the sun and the star cookie in particular, is that you want to have a very solid base of icing before adding on the additional details. And then after I kind of move all the icing around, I shake my cookie. I like to stab mine with my scribe and then shake it, kind of do what I call the washing machine method. But you can also lift up your cookie and shake it. You can kind of just shake your whole table if that's an option. Then you're going to come in with your yellow icing. And I recommend adding kind of 2 dots where you want the beginning and the end of your crescent moon to be. And then following the edge of the cookie, so you're not going all the way to the edge, but where your dot is, and using that same distance all the way around your cookie till you reach the other dot. I will say this makes a lot more sense when you watch the video than me explaining it. But hopefully that comes across. And then the harder part for me was figuring out what the inside needed to be. Because you sometimes see this really great crescent moons that are really dramatic, and that's what I really wanted to go for, and I just was not succeeding. I actually feel like it looks better the first time I did it. Later in this video, I go back and quote correct the inside curve. Anywho, you're creating that inside curve. It can be really deep, it cannot be really deep. You can really try and follow the laws of the world of how your moon should look. I did not. And then you're going to come in with your yellow icing and just fill in the center of the cookie. I really wish I had made 2 different bags of icing for each color. One that had a bigger tip cut on the end so I could get more icing out of my cookie at a time, because you can see I'm just kind of like struggling to fill in this moon because I need to cover all of that blue, but also the tip of my icing bag is cut small because that's what I want my line to be. I don't want my line to be really thick and kind of unruly to work with where all the icing just kind of falls out, but I do want that for filling my cookie. So when you make these at home, I recommend at least 2 different piping bags for each color. One that you can do the outlines with and one that you can fill with. And that's not to say you're creating different consistencies, because we're not. We're just using one consistency of icing, but that you can have better ease of filling in your shapes. I feel weird saying filling when you're not filling in the cookie, you're filling in the shape of the moon. So it just takes a little time. You can see I'm not doing this in any sort of specific way. I'm just filling it in whatever's getting the job done. Another thing that I would probably change about this cookie if I went back and redid it now is I kind of liked the blue peeking through. It gave me that kind of like 90s vibe that we're going with this whole set, where things just weren't as like perfect as this cookie. I'm not going to say this cookie looks perfect, but it's just not as pristine. So now I'm coming up to my scribe and just kind of moving some of the icing around a little bit. I'm staying very much on the surface because that's where our yellow icing is. I don't want to get any of that blue peeking through. Now, if I did, I could just grab my icing again and do like a little splotch to cover up that blue. It's essentially white out, but icing and yellow. And I'm also just trying to get better ends of my moons. And right about this time, I'm going to decide I don't like the curve of my moon and I'm going to come back and change it. And it's really not, it really wasn't that bad. I could have kept it. But two, the other thing is if you look very closely, you'll be able to notice that I did that at the end of this cookie. And that's just me being a perfectionist. It really doesn't matter. Now, at the end, after you've completed your moon, what I did was squirt out a bunch of icing onto my paper towel that I always keep next to my cookie, and I dipped my scribe into it, and then I'm just tapping that icing on my scribe around the cookie to add some stars. That's going to just create a little bit more like texture and dimension to this cookie, so it's not just here's a funky looking moon on a cookie. We have a little bit more to it, and it doesn't take really all that much effort or time. You can see there's no rhyme or reason to where I'm adding it. It's just like, oh, it's kind of empty here. Let's add a little bit of icing. So nothing too serious here. Just going through and adding those drops wherever it feels necessary. And that is our moon cookie as part of the Celestial cookie set inspired by the 90s.